Okay, so we are here today for the H.E.A.L tribe. This is our second Space Coast H.E.A.L tribe. And let's hear it for the H.E.A.L tribe. Yes. And Dr. Joe Fuhrman is here to answer our questions. We're going to start with, at the very beginning, with G-bombs, Dr. Fuhrman, and a nutritarian lifestyle. And so we also are going to, how many people have questions for Dr. Fuhrman that you're going to be getting up? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, where's that list? Who has the list?
But I first have a question for them.
Okay.
So I want, since they've all heard this before, I just want to make sure that they can articulate the primary principle. In other words, I want to ask them is, what's the most scientifically proven methodology to slow the aging process and to enable people to live to be past 100 years old? So how do we slow aging and live longer, not get cancer? What's the primary, most important thing you can do to achieve that? The most proven methodology to have that happen, which is the first principle of the nutritarian diet. Can anybody articulate that?
Plant-based diet. Nutritarian diet. Slower metabolism. Release meat. Plant-based organic. Plant-based organic.
Vegetable fruits and seeds. Nuts. Eat less.
Someone said eat less. Did you hear that, Dr. Fuhrman?
Well, he's the closest, that's the closest person, because I'll tell you what, because I want everybody able to clearly say this back to me. We want to achieve moderate caloric restriction in an environment of micronutrient excellence.
Can you break that down a little?
He will. He will.
Can you write it down? I could say it again.
We will attempt.
We want people to achieve moderate caloric restriction
Okay.
in an environment of micronutrient excellence.
Moderate caloric restriction
in an environment of
environmental-
micronutrient excellence.
Okay.
So Gail is your teacher's pet for tonight.
Okay. Now the question is, what does micronutrient excellence have to do with moderate caloric restriction? How can micronutrient excellence facilitate moderate caloric restriction?
Because what you're eating is healthier. And like
How does that, if you eat healthier, how does that make you eat less?
it's more,
How does that make you more comfortable eating less calories?
it's more nutritious, so you don't need as
More
much.
nutrient dense.
Nutrient
More
dense.
nutrient dense, like the H.E.A.L.
Mhm.
Your system is more efficient.
Oh, that's good.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, none of the answers I heard were correct.
Go ahead and tell us. Just let us know.
There's two primary mechanisms. One, that when we eat a diet that's micronutrient rich with lots of vegetables, then we don't feel ill and shaky and weak and fatigued when we're no longer digesting food, because we remove those detoxification symptoms that people mistake for hunger. So when you eat unhealthily and you go without food for a few hours, you start to feel shaky and weak. When you eat healthfully and go without food for a few hours, you don't feel like eating. So you're no longer getting that false hunger, that toxic hunger driving you to overeat, and your diet has a high nutritional quality to it.
How long does it take to get rid of the false hunger?
About a week.
A week.
Okay.
Can you guys deal with 1 week of false hunger and so
Yes.
that you can get to where you need to go? Yes.
It takes about 3 to 4 months for your taste and your smell to improve significantly enough so you lose the preference for the concentrated calories and the overly seasoned sweetened foods. That takes more time. You start feeling better within 3 or 4 days. It's only the first 2 days, day 2 and day 3, where you really feel shaky and weak and feel like eating more food, when you feel uncomfortable when you're not eating as frequently. But the other reason is, which we're going to talk about tonight, especially with G-bombs, is that calories in beans and nuts and seeds and vegetables are not all biologically accessible. Let me explain this for a minute, okay? Let's assume you ate 200 calories of beans. You feel like you ate 200 calories when you eat 200 calories of beans. It makes you not want to eat. It makes you want to eat 200 calories less. But those 200 calories, which your brain now has gotten the signal that it ate 200 calories, but those 200 calories never go into your bloodstream because a significant portion of those calories are called resistant starch. And that means those starches are resistant to enzymatic degradation. It means they don't get broken down by digestive enzymes. It means they pass through you into the toilet bowl. So even though you felt like you ate all those calories, you don't absorb all the calories in beans. So it makes you automatically moderately caloric restricting. The same thing when you eat nuts and seeds. It says 175 calories an ounce. You feel like you ate 175 calories an ounce. But because the sterols and the stanols, those fibers in nuts and seeds, bind calories so tightly, they suck the fat out into the toilet bowl. You get more stool fat. So even though your body senses you took in 200 calories and you stop eating those 200 calories, you didn't really absorb all 200. Some of it passed right through you. When you eat salads and raw carrots and raw beets and raw cabbage, you feel like you ate all those calories, but all those calories, the fibers hold on to the calories, and the fibers pull out some of those calories into the stool. So the secret to be able to feel really satisfied, eat comfortable amounts of food, but still moderately caloric restrict, is eating these G-bombs and eating a lot of raw vegetables whose calories are not all biologically accessible to the body. But so let's make believe that you hadn't eaten yet tonight, and you were going to get your food at the buffet, and you formed two lines. And one line, I gave an apple before they got to the buffet to get their food. You would generally eat 65 calories less on the buffet because the apple has 65 calories. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but now imagine on the other side of the room, the people approaching the buffet, instead of giving them an apple, I gave them a tablespoon of olive oil. A tablespoon of olive oil is 120 calories. Because there's no fiber, there's no significant micronutrient load, and no bulk. There's no fiber to hold the water to bulk out your stomach. And there's no starches in there. So you will not eat 120 calories less than the buffet. It doesn't turn down the appestat. Oil does not turn down appestat. You eat just as much calories had you not eaten anything. So in other words, you'll take whatever calories you were going to consume at the buffet, you're not going to consume 120 calories less because you have the oil. It's just 120 calories extra. But now let's say, if instead of giving you the oil to eat on the way to the buffet, I put the oil and mixed it in with the food, then what would happen? Anybody want to take a guess on this one?
It gets eliminated better.
No, it means you would absorb it means that you would get even fatter and absorb even more calories, because now not only would the 120 calories still come into your body, but you would also, but oil mixed in with the food makes you want to eat more food because it has an effect to cause food addiction, and food increases the appestat. Oil ratchets up the appestat, makes you consume more calories even than the oil supplies. So oil, like olive oil, is the most fattening thing you can eat because it's digested so rapidly, because of the rapid calories entering the bloodstream, stimulates the dopamine receptors in the brain, and has you eat more food. So now instead of having 120 calories extra, the 1 tablespoon of oil, even though it only contained 120 calories, it caused you to eat 220 calories extra.
Gotcha.
So the opposite of moderate caloric restriction to extend lifespan is pouring oil in your food. So the thing you can do to shorten lifespan the most is to eat with oil, cook with oil, or to add sweeteners like and white flour, like bagels and honey and maple syrup and sugar, because those calories also go into the bloodstream and do not turn down the appestat.
Fine.
You got that?
They are fats.
Yeah. So
It has to do with how fast the calories enter the bloodstream. The faster the calories enter the bloodstream, the more rapidly they're absorbed, the more it signals dopaminergic stimulation of the brain, making you want to eat more food. The slower the calories enter the bloodstream, the less desire you have to continue to eat food. That's when you eat beans and nuts. Their calories enter the bloodstream over a 2 to 4 hour period, completely moderating your appetite so you're not desirous of more calories. Then, they say when you eat potato chips, you can't just eat one. You have a bag of potato chips, you want to keep eating more. It actually ratchets up your appetite. Rather than taking it down, it ratchets it up. If you had a handful of nuts you wouldn't feel like eating, you had a bag of potato chips, you want to eat 4 bags of potato chips now.
So true.
Okay, so Dr. Fuhrman, thank you for that. Can you tell us the importance of G-bombs? For those of you, G-bombs are greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dr. Fuhrman.
Well, G-bombs is an acronym that helps people remember the foods that have the most power to defend against cancer. So every one of these foods individually has been shown to reduce the incidence of cancer by more than 50% for people who eat them regularly.
Yes.
Nutritarian diet puts together the full portfolio of superfoods that prevent cancer, enabling people to make a decision. I'm not going to have cancer. I'm going to eat a cancer-protective diet. So you eat this cancer-protective diet, yes, by not overeating calories, but even more importantly, is to eat these rich superfoods that contain the phytochemicals that maximize immune function. I wrote a book about this called Super Immunity. And even though the book title was called Super Immunity, it's really about fully manifesting the natural immunity we've been given as humans. What I'm saying right now is cancer is unnatural. It doesn't have to happen. It never happened. It hardly ever happened in human history. It's a recent phenomenon. And when we're eating properly, you don't get cancer. So
or any
how
other
many of you out there listening to me now have been ever shot by a bullet or stabbed by a knife? Or maybe anybody in your family, immediate family, been shot by a bullet or stabbed by a knife, or even your extended family? Raise your hand.
We had one hand in the back, Dr. Oh, we have 2. Anybody else? So 2 people, and there's like over 30.
Right, so how about anybody here who's ever had a diagnosis of heart attack, or a family member or a extended family, either a heart attack, a stroke, or a cancer diagnosis? Raise your hand. I can't see them.
A lot.
Here.
Oh, I can see now. I can see him. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't. No, I was seeing them perfectly with the camera. It was that my screen had them too small. I hadn't had them enlarged. I'm looking at myself instead of seeing them on the enlarged view.
You can swap it. You can.
Oh, now I have the right view. Yeah.
You got it.
Yes.
And we also have Nicole joining us from Michigan, who is in the H.E.A.L tribe virtually. So thank you, Nicole, for joining us. So go ahead. Keep going, Dr. Fuhrman.
Oh, so what I was saying was, we were talking about when you have the full portfolio of anti-cancer foods in your diet, it works synergistically. So there's 6 foods there. So it's 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 6, but it doesn't equal 6, it equals 100. Because any one of these foods individually is so powerfully protective. When you put a diet style together, include all these anti-cancer foods, that's when the magic happens. Let's look at flax seeds for a minute, okay? Because the studies on flax seeds show that they did a study for 10 years on women who had a diagnosis of breast cancer, and those who had a little bit of flax seed, or just 1/3 of a milligram a day of lignin from flax, had a 71% decreased death from breast cancer over that 10-year period compared to women not having flaxseed. If we look at, that's just looking at flaxseed. If we look at green cruciferous vegetables, because the G really is referring to the cruciferous family, the green cruciferous family, which consists of cabbage and bok choy and watercress and arugula and kale and collards and mustard.
Salad today. We had an arugula salad today, Dr. Fuhrman.
So how many of you either eat arugula or watercress or kale or collards or bok choy or cabbage almost every day?
Everybody raise your hand. Oh, almost every day.
Almost every day.
I do. I'm raising my hand. I want to be a teacher's
on
pet.
a good day.
Lily, I'm not asking you, Lily.
But I want to be in this. Okay.
On a good day.
All right.
So how many of you eat greens every day? Okay.
Now, so I want you to do two things every day. I want you to have a salad with lettuce in it, and I want you to put some green cruciferous raw every day in that salad as well. I want you to do both, the lettuce and the cruciferous greens mixed together. And then also in that meal where you had the lettuce and the greens, I want you to have your dressing have some nuts and seeds in it, or eat some nuts and seeds with that meal.
Tonight,
Because
yeah.
you could absorb 10 times the amount of anti-cancer phytonutrients when you have some nuts and seeds in the same meal as you have the green vegetables and all these anti-cancer superfoods. Did you follow that? Because
Yes.
these phytochemicals require a certain amount of fat to be able to be carried into the body and digested efficiently.
You guys get that?
Good fat, good fat.
So the secret of a nutritarian diet is we're not using oil as our source of fat. We're using the whole nut or seed. It's not walnut oil, it's the walnut. It's not sesame oil, it's the sesame seed. It's not olive oil, it's the olive. We're using the whole food because the phytonutrients and the anti-cancer ingredients are in the whole food, not the oil. And also, not only does the whole food contain a third of the calories, but the whole food source, all the calories not biologically accessible, and they contain the bioflavonoids. Why did you guys shut the lights off?
Because we are all still and the lights turn off automatically. So can you see us again?
It made you look like a
I'll be
celebrity.
running around so that the lights won't go off.
Now,
Okay.
onions, I want people to also put onions or scallions raw on the salad too. It's a very important component to put a little red onion or scallion on your salad because the organosulfide compounds in onions are powerfully protective against cancer, especially breast and prostate cancer. How many of you eat some raw onion or raw scallion every day? Raise your hand.
A lot.
What do you do for your onion breath?
I know, I got hot
Not
breath.
for digestion.
Yeah. You could go brush your teeth.
Parsley, right?
Yeah.
But Asians like green onion, so that I've got that pretty good. But unlike the other people, for me they're kind of belchy.
You know, I didn't like onions either about 20 years ago. I kind of avoided them mostly. But when I learned all the science about how powerfully they extended human lifespan and prevented aging and prevented skin cancer and breast cancer and slow aging of the mind, I started using them more in just a little bit here and there. And after a period of months, I started to like it more and more. And now I like it so much that I'll put like crushed red onion, even on my cooked vegetables. I'll throw raw onion on top and mix it with my cooked kale or my cooked broccoli. I'll put even raw, mix scallions in with cooked stuff. And I'll put it on raw chopped scallions on top of my soups and everything. It's, in other words, I learned about it, but I developed my taste for them. Really, it was a learned phenomenon. I didn't really think I liked it that much.
Right. And Dr. Fuhrman, you gave me that advice for Robert. Robert, whenever he had raw onions, he didn't like it. He would burp it up. And so Dr. Fuhrman's advice was start really small, chop the onion really, really tiny, and start with a teaspoon. Put it in your salad.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you get used to it, add some more, add some more. And now, Robert, how do you like your onions?
I think I know the right answer here.
Yeah.
I love them.
Now Robert eats a whole salad of just onion.
We see the baby.
Stays away from you.
You see the baby on Facebook bite into the onion like it's a fruit, and they're biting it like it's a fruit.
Yeah. It's good.
It's like
good.
a joke, but
It's good.
that baby is probably anti-cancer his whole life.
Did you ever see that movie called Holes, was it called Holes?
Yeah.
I think it was,
Yeah.
where the guys were going to die of starvation, but they found an onion, right?
That's funny. I don't remember that.
They planted it.
Okay, so we've got the onions and raw and cooked. Did you talk about the cooked onions and what it does too? Or we just talked about the raw onions?
Because I like cooked onion, but I didn't like the raw.
So just a little bit at a time. Just
Okay.
tiny little,
Okay.
add a teaspoon or a tablespoon at a time, and you'll get used to it.
How do you add cooked onions to your soups?
Easy.
You add the raw onion to the cooked soup, right?
Do you add the raw onion whole and then blend it when it's, or you chop? What do? You just throw it in there whole and then blend it in later when it's cooked, or do you blend it first and then put it in? What's the answer?
Usually saute first, or just chop it in there raw while your stew is cooking.
Okay, then you just remove the anti-cancer benefit of the onion.
So how do you do it?
The American way.
Right.
Well, how do you do it, Dr. Fuhrman?
There's an enzyme called alliinase that's heat sensitive. We want to break down the cell wall first while it's raw to allow the organosulfide compounds to be formed, and then it can be heated to maintain the anti-cancer effects. So if you want to get the anti-cancer benefit of the onion added to soups or stews, you have to blend the raw onion in a blender, a Vitamix. You have to, while it's still raw, so it gives off that sulfenic acid, and it gives off the chemical reaction, forming the anti-cancer compounds. And if you fry it in a pan first or saute it first, you've destroyed the value. So you got to blend it while it's still raw, and then you have this slurry of raw onion, and then you can pour it into the soup to cook, and the cooking won't destroy the anti-cancer compound. But if you put the onion in the soup first so blending it is better even than chopping it, because it breaks down more of the cell walls to get the full organosulfide compounds. Then it better disperses the flavor in the soup anyway.
But the optimal,
you shouldn't be sauteing any vegetables you added to a soup.
Yeah.
Just let them cook in the water content of the soup anyway.
You do that also with the broccoli, don't you, Dr. Fuhrman?
Well, I don't usually add broccoli to soups too much. I do broccoli raw into the soup because it has a little more bitter. I usually eat the broccoli outside the soup, but I'll use the vegetables that I don't usually relish as much. The milder ones I'll eat, like kale and broccoli, but the ones that are a little sharper, like broccoli rabe and mustard greens and turnip greens and collard greens, those I'll blend in the blender. I'll ladle a little bit of soup liquid in there, and I'll blend them while it's still raw, and then pour that to thicken the base of the soup. Now the carrots and the beets, or the squash and the mushroom and the lentils and the beans, I don't blend those. Those I leave lumpy and chunky and little chunk-like pieces in the soup. It's just the onion and the green that I blend in there. And sometimes I'll blend a little hemp seed or little cashews into the soup base to make it thick and creamy to give it flavor too.
He said cashew.
So you said onions and you said greens, like the kale?
Greens,
Yeah.
greens,
Kale.
like kale, bok choy, or is that the cruciferous? The greens are the kale, and yeah, you blend it. You blend it, and then you add it.
Okay, got it.
So it's almost like a puree, and you add that to your food.
Got it.
Now, there's two basic foods that most contribute to cancer, and they're hormonally contribute to cancer. And that's, of course, animal protein, like animal products like fish and eggs and meat and chicken and dairy, because they raise a hormone called IGF-1 that drives breast and prostate cancer. Now, sugar, though, and white flour also raise insulin and IGF-1. So if we want to create cancer most powerfully, and that's why I say the American diet's been designed by ISIS, is that we mix together white flour and cheese like a pizza, or ham and cheese, or a sandwich, or a burger, or macaroni, or macaroni and meatballs, or a hero. In other words, when we mix together bread and meat, then you have the most powerful package to create breast cancer. So if you really want to get breast cancer, really want to age faster, and you really want to kill yourself sooner, you follow the American diet with a lot of high glycemic carbohydrates and animal products.
Sandwiches, bad sandwiches.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And okay, so then the next is mushrooms, Dr. Fuhrman.
Right. Mushrooms have been shown to have mushrooms dramatically protect against cancer, but they're like a little baby medication you're taking, like a super medicine, because they have aromatase inhibitors in them, which lower the stimulation of estrogen to breast tissue. They protect the breast against estrogen stimulation, and they protect the prostate against estrogen stimulation. Now, excess estrogen is produced by women especially, and men, when they're overweight. Fat cells produce estrogen. So the more fat you have on the body, the higher your risk of breast and prostate cancer. So we want to combine moderate caloric restriction, having a body weight, with eating mushrooms and berries and all these foods that have angiogenesis inhibition and aromatase inhibition. But the food with the most powerful aromatase inhibition and angiogenesis inhibition are mushrooms. So a little bit of mushrooms goes a long way. And we want to eat those mushrooms predominantly cooked, not raw, because there's a mild carcinogen in mushrooms called the garatine, which is blown off with a little cooking. So this is the food you want to water saute in a wok or in a pan, a quarter cup of water, mixing it in there a little bit, cooking it a little bit, its own steam, and then you can put the cooked mushrooms on your salad, or you don't have to saute them, just throw them, chop them up raw, and throw them in the soup to cook. Especially those shiitake mushrooms that are a little tougher and add that chewiness, that meat-like feeling to your soups.
Yum, yum.
Okay.
All right, why don't we do questions?
Okay, do you want to finish with the, okay, so we did the mushrooms, berries, beans. We already did beans, berries. So we talked a little bit about berries when we were eating dinner, but real quick about the berries, Dr. Fuhrman, and then we'll go to questions and seeds.
Well, berries have powerful effects against cancer. All these foods do. And seeds we talked about, even a little bit of seeds. Like everybody should be putting a little bit of flax seeds or chia seeds in their salads, in their smoothies, in their morning oatmeal or steel-cut oats or whatever it is. That's an incredibly powerful anti-cancer effect. But I'm saying one thing additional here. When you utilize these G-bombs properly, what happens is they fuel the growth of favorable bacteria in the digestive tract. And these favorable bacteria adhere to the villi and form a biofilm, a most protective biofilm, a coating over the villi that slows the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream. Let me say that one more time. That when you eat beans and greens and onions and mushrooms, the biofilm opposes the glycemic effect of other foods. So when you eat a mango or you eat that oatmeal, the glycemic load of that oatmeal or mango is reduced because you regularly consume the mushroom and the onion and the green vegetables and the two raw foods and the two cooked foods. The two raw foods are raw cruciferous greens and raw onion, the two raw foods. And the two cooked foods are mushrooms and beans.
Right.
When you put those four foods together, they have the most powerful effect to synergistically thicken the biofilm and facilitate weight loss, protect you against diabetes, and help reverse heart disease.
Is that wonderful?
Say them again, please.
They want you to repeat that, please, Dr. Fuhrman.
Repeat just the foods or repeat the whole thing?
The two cruciferous and then the two cooked.
There are two raw foods. The two raw foods you want to eat to thicken the biofilm are raw green cruciferous vegetables like bok choy or kale or collards or watercress or arugula. That's the raw greens. And the second food is raw scallion or onion. Those are the two foods that are best protective to the biofilm. And then for the bacteria in your gut. And the two cooked foods that thicken the biofilm the best are cooked mushrooms and cooked beans. Beans you want to soak overnight if possible. Throw away the soaking water. Put fresh water in a pot and cook them thoroughly in the soup or the stew or the chili so they're very soft. So they're a food you want, and you can cook the mushrooms into the soup as well. So when you eat a diet that contains all these raw foods and the cooked foods both, then we get the most protection against diabetes and obesity. In other words, these foods have anti-fat storage effect. They say, no way, Jose, I'm not letting you put fat on your body. They facilitate the removal of fat from your waist. You got that?
Check.
Yes.
Yes. Can I hear an amen? Okay. Okay. So, and you talked a little bit about flax seeds, which is the S, and also nuts are also included in that. Is there anything you'd like to add about seeds?
No, nuts are not included in the G-bombs.
The what?
Nuts are not included in the G-bombs acronym.
Yeah. So, but nuts are good too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
People should use a moderate amount of nuts, up to 2 ounces a day if they're overweight, between 1 and 2 ounces a day based on their weight. But somebody who's slim and physically active can eat more, of course.
Yes. Yes. And you know the breakfast that I showed you how to make?
That we ate.
I prepare my lentils, like black lentils or green lentils, red lentils. And then after they're I don't cook them with anything. I just prepare them and cook them. And then I add them to that so I get more protein. Okay? I add beans to that. So that'll give you a little bit more protein as well. Okay, so you have a question, Carol?
Does it matter if your beans are canned?
As long as they're unsalted, canned, they're okay. But you know what? That soaking liquid, don't throw it away. It's very valuable. You can cook with it or add it to your soups. In from the can, pour it into the soup mix.
Drain that.
Let me ask you guys, can I ask you guys another question?
Sure.
How come high protein plant foods like hemp seeds, broccoli, and beans, which are all really high in protein, how come those proteins don't raise IGF-1 and cause breast cancer like cheese and meat and chicken and eggs do? How come animal proteins raise IGF-1 and create cancer, but plant foods that are high in protein don't have that same effect? How come?
Well, is there more than one answer, one reason? More than one reason?
Maybe,
Yeah,
but there's a few primary reasons.
Well, my one reason is, first of all, is fiber. And then there's other things that happen to that plant that happen to the animals that don't happen to the plants. They're two different things. So obviously something is happening to that animal that's not happening to the plant, that is happening good in the plant but bad in the animal.
No, that's not the reason.
Anybody else have a guess?
You didn't like my fiber answer?
It was okay, but it wasn't good enough. It gave you a 77.
I'll take it. I was a flunky when I walked in here.
Okay. Go ahead, Gail. Oh, the what? She said micronutrients, and then Gail, what would you like to say?
Because they don't raise your hormone levels?
Exactly.
No, I'm asking you, why don't they raise the hormone levels? I told you they don't raise the hormone levels. I mean, that's the question. How come animal proteins raise the IGF-1, which is the hormone creating cancer, is a growth hormone, but plant proteins don't raise it up to unfavorable levels?
No animal with a digestive tract as long as ours eats meat.
Okay, I'm going to give you the answer now, okay?
Meat is bad, vegetables are good.
Go ahead, Dr. Fuhrman.
Because the animal proteins are biologically complete proteins, where the plant proteins are not biologically complete. So the body takes time to slowly make the plant proteins biologically complete over hours, allowing them to be utilized for its work in making hormones, but doesn't produce excessive amounts. Because the animal proteins are already biologically complete, they can enter the bloodstream very quickly and overstimulate the production of these growth hormones.
I told you.
He's up to 79 now.
It's also because they're high in phytochemicals and antioxidants and fibers, sure, but the main reason is that we learned in grade school that animal products were favorable because they were biologically complete. But now we learn that it's better to eat your proteins that are not as biologically complete because it allows IGF-1 to be made as we need it and not overshoot and make too much. You follow me? It's better to get our sugar from fruit because the insulin that doesn't produce too high, and we get our sugar from maple syrup or from honey or from real sugar, or then we get too much insulin production. The same thing like too much IGF-1 production from animal protein.
Your honey answer.
Okay.
Now, the body can make these proteins, can make the incomplete proteins from plant proteins complete as it needs to, because it stores amino acids in the villi and in the lining of the digestive tract and in the bloodstream too. So what happens is we can absorb those bacteria that are lining the digestive tract. We can digest them as to complete our amino acid content, and some of the epithelial cells, some of our own body is absorbed to facilitate completion of those animal proteins. But we only take away those bacteria and epithelial cells as we need to make the right amount of hormone. So those plant proteins combine and enter the bloodstream more gradually to have the right amount of protein to facilitate good health, good muscle structure, good bone structure, but not excessive amounts that will promote cancer.
Great, great.
You have all of this material in your books, Dr. Fuhrman?
Yes.
I'm a reader. I gain my information much better.
Dr. Fuhrman has like 14, 12, 14 books now?
I have 12 books. My most recent book is called Fast Food Genocide. My book before that was called The End of Heart Disease. But we're talking tonight a lot about information from the book Super Immunity, which discusses the benefits of G-bombs and how to prevent cancer.
Okay.
That's, in your opinion, that's the most important one we start with? So we don't get cancer and die before you get to read all the rest of the books?
No, if a person is overweight, has a problem with addictive or emotional overeating, and has been on yo-yo dieting in the past, they should read the book The End of Dieting.
Yes.
The End of Dieting is the best starter book for a person who's tried various diets and is still overweight. But a person who doesn't have an issue with that and is a relatively stable weight and is not overweight, they should move on to Super Immunity, which is how to maximize prevention against cancer and maximize lifespan.
G-bomb.
Okay, so let's move on. We have some questions for you. I'd asked for people to send me questions, and this is the first question that I have. Dr. Fuhrman, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so the person who's asking this question does not want to ask it, so they've asked me to ask it. So I'm going to just read it.
What's their name then?
It's anonymous.
Okay.
It's anonymous. Okay. Okay. I've had IBS for years. It is not constant, but definitely a lifestyle downer. Mine is more diarrhea, icky feeling sort. I don't know how to treat it. And I do not get the elimination diet because I am sure there are more than one food that triggers it. So I do not see how that would help, that would work. Any solutions?
I have a newsletter written about inflammatory and irritable bowel disease on my website, a position paper on it that gives people careful instructions. But in many cases, just following a nutritarian diet resolves it. But in the early stages, they have to eat less raw vegetables and smaller salad portions and more servings of cooked vegetables and less beans usually at the beginning. But we don't want to take all the beans out. You just want to add like a tablespoon, one meal and a tablespoon the other meal chewed very well. So we don't want to remove these foods and remove the ability of the enzymes to learn how to digest them. But so we eat a lot of cooked vegetables, a lot of soups and stews, and we give people a diet that does not create acidity. And the major factor in this is oil consumption, because almost nobody can get better from irritable bowel syndrome if they're still putting oil on their food. So fried foods destroy the interior lining of your gut and just make and destroy you. So that most important thing. But I have on my website the ability of people to communicate with me through the Ask the Doctor forum. And sometimes we have to tweak and customize the diet for the individual who has various digestive problems that might need some guidance and having trouble designing their own diet. But basically, this is easy to do it, and we also usually add probiotics, the extra bacteria, to the person who has irritable bowel syndrome, at least for the first few months. They might be taking a hefty dose of probiotics, maybe one probiotic with each meal, maybe 3 a day. But certainly, that's the condition that this is going to completely resolve if you embrace it and work with me on it.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to ask these 3 questions, or somebody would like to get up and ask a question. Dr. Fuhrman, you can come here and speak into the mic. Okay. Anybody have a question that they want to ask? Okay. So the next question, Dr. Fuhrman. Is it okay to eat avocados and nuts if one has a high LDL, genetically high cholesterol, even on a healthy diet, 168 LDL?
The studies on nuts and seeds show that they lower cholesterol. And 1 ounce lowers cholesterol lowers LDL about 3.5%, and 2 ounces lowered about 7.5%. So nuts and seeds do not raise cholesterol. I don't know where the person why they thought that was true. There have been more than 100 studies showing the opposite. On the other hand, we still want people not to overeat calories. And nuts can enable people to overeat calories by eating too many of them, because they're 175 calories an ounce. So eating 10 ounces of nuts is almost 1,700 calories. So excluding nuts from your diet actually have your LDL be higher. Nuts and seeds bind cholesterol. The sterols and stanols bind cholesterol and suck it out and put more fat in the stool. But the entire nutritarian diet is designed to lower cholesterol more effectively than medication or any other diet, and it's been proven to do so in the scientific literature. In the medical journal Cell Metabolism, it showed that LDL cholesterol dropped more than 33% on a nutritarian diet within just 6 weeks, which was more powerful than cholesterol-lowering drugs in that time frame. When you use cholesterol-lowering drugs, it doesn't drop oxidized LDL as powerfully as a nutritarian diet does. So whether your LDL cholesterol is still elevated, whether you need a statin drug or not, if you don't do a nutritarian diet, you're increasing your risk of death. There's nothing else that works this effectively.
Avocados was also mentioned.
Yes, avocados. So he's saying avocados and seeds, nuts.
No, not. I'm not saying avocados raise LDL, but avocados are medium avocado is 300 calories. And if a person is overweight and I'm restricting them to 2 ounces of nuts a day, which is about 325 calories, that's probably all the fat they're allotted for the day. There isn't an extra 300 calories left in the diet to give them an avocado too. Did you follow that?
Yes.
If they wanted to eat the avocado that day, they'd have to eat a half an avocado and then not eat the nuts that day. Because otherwise they're going to exceed their caloric. Not that the avocado is bad, otherwise they're going to consume too many calories for the day. Did you follow me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have another question here. Go ahead.
By the way, nuts and seeds are a little bit more powerful at lowering LDL than avocado is. So if you're going to choose, but if you're overweight, I'd rather you forego the avocado and eat the allotment of nuts and seeds instead.
Wow, interesting. Okay, why don't you go so that you can see yourself in the.
So an avocado is not more nutritionally valuable in any way.
Oh,
than
I see.
seeds.
I can see myself.
You can see yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, here I am. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Seeds have the highest anti-cancer effects. Are the most seeds like sesame seeds and flax seeds and hemp seeds are an important part of your diet. The super nut is walnuts are the other food with the most scientific literature showing protection against heart attack and dementia and stroke. So walnuts are the king of nuts. So you should have seeds and walnuts is probably half your nut and seed intake. And then the other half you can choose to have something else that you like pistachio or cashew or almonds or something else.
Hi, Dr. Fuhrman. I have a question about statin drugs. I would like to get off of them completely. My doctor wants me on a statin drug because he said it protects my kidneys, and I do have diabetes, but type 1. So what are your comments about that?
My comments about that is, have you read my book, The End of Diabetes?
No, not yet.
All right, well, I can't more strongly emphasize that book can save the lives of type 1 diabetics. Because once you follow my program, you use about 2/3 less insulin with no ups and no highs and lows. It stabilizes your blood sugars because the excess insulin that endocrinologists and diabetologists prescribe, and the excess insulin that you require to take to satisfy the insulin requirements of an American diet cut people's lives short by 30 years or more. So what I'm saying right now is the conventional care of diabetologists and endocrinologists is deadly. It's malpractice. And then you take a statin drug, which makes you more diabetic and make you require even more insulin on top of that. So I'm saying you really got to embrace this diet style. And so you really got to achieve an ideal weight, eat a nutritarian diet, require less insulin. And then what will naturally happen is that you'll require less insulin, your cholesterol will drop precipitously, and you won't need a statin drug. You'll get rid of, if you're type 2 diabetic, you'll get rid of it. And if you're a type 1 diabetic, you'll get rid of at least half of the insulin you're using right now. It's that second half of the insulin you're using that's causing all the disease, the morbidity for type 1 diabetics, causing them to become blind, have leg amputations, have kidney failure. So instead of using 60 units a day, using 25 units a day of insulin, and that's going to save your life.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have a question? Quickly. Are you the last question?
Okay, let's just throw
Oh,
this
I have
out
another
there.
question.
Okay, can I?
Well, we were going to have him first.
I'm-
No, come on. Last time you were trying to ask a question and you didn't.
Hi, Dr. Fuhrman.
Hi.
This is an interesting looking job.
Yeah, well, that's what I use for the radio show. So
And good afternoon.
you can get in front of the camera.
Well, somehow I left my glasses.
Good afternoon. You must be in California.
My 21-year-old daughter has been dealing with severe depression, as my whole family does, since puberty. Much better. She deals with this through eating badly and is now obese, 5'1", 185 pounds plus. White processed foods, pastas with cream, I suppose that's to increase the serotonin. She has crippling cramping in her legs and drinks energy drinks often. She's had her intestines medically unblocked of white dough. And while detoxing, how can she reboot without being badly depressed? And thank you.
You're welcome. It's so sad that lives are destroyed by the American diet, because what I'm saying right now is processed foods and refined carbohydrates cause depression. Even 2 servings a week of commercial baked goods or fast food causes depression.
Can you
And of course,
again, Dr. Fuhrman, because I don't think people understand that. When you say that, I just want people to digest it a second. Can you say that one more time, please?
yes, the scientific literature shows that 2 servings a week
2 servings a week.
of commercial baked goods like croissants or donuts or cookies or bread, white bread, or fast food is linked to depression in a dose-dependent manner, and it starts with 2 servings a week, increasing the risk of developing depression by 51%. And that not only does it cause major depression in our population, which there's 100 times more depression in our population today than there was 100 years ago, but it also suppresses emotions, reduces creativity and intelligence in other people who are not depressed. Now, not only is it going to cause depression, but look what's happening to your daughter and other people. It makes them into food addicts. It makes them depressed, but now it takes away their ability to feel okay, and they're driven to eat these foods like they can't stop eating them. These designer foods are designed to keep people obese and eating heavily, and it's really a treacherous, horrible thing that's happening to Americans. And people, we have children shooting down other people in the schools violently because of this violence is linked to, who's talking about the violence caused by junk food, fast food, and candy? It causes mental illness, is what I'm saying. Our American diet causes mental deficiencies. So with that as a precursor to what the question was, let's go in to answer the question: what does your daughter do to deal with the depression when so she does 3 things. One is she takes saffron 30 milligrams a day. 2, she takes 5 HTP at bedtime, 150 milligrams.
Excuse me, I'm lost there. What in the world is that?
Saffron?
Saffron, 5 milligrams a day.
30 milligrams of saffron, right, Dr. Fuhrman?
Yes.
Saffron.
S-A-F-F-R-O-N.
S-A-F-F-R-O-N.
HTP. The letters HTP is the second one.
5 HTP is 5-hydroxytryptophan.
5 HTP. How much for that?
150 milligrams.
150 milligrams. This is all supplements over the counter. You can get that at Dr. Fuhrman. You can go to whenyounneedafriend.com, click on Dr. Fuhrman's. You can get.
I'm not sure I have it, but you can. Yeah, right. So we can look for it, or you can get it in a health food store. And then she could take 2 fish oil capsules a day as well for the EPA for her brain.
Any particular brand?
And she should be exposed to morning light therapy. And then we have to get her on a nutritarian diet. Now, what would be best for her is for her to probably be sent to I'm starting a health facility that's an inpatient facility where people can come and stay there for a month to 3 months. And we'll probably have it open by September. And if she wants to, and you want to, you could send her into my facility for a few months, and we'll feed her and get her well and send her home with 100 pounds lighter without depression.
Thank you very much. Where will that be?
Wow.
What's that?
Where will that take place?
Where is the place going to be located?
Yeah, what state?
In Orange County, California. The place we're purchasing is in San Juan Capistrano, California.
You should have purchased something in Florida, Dr. Fuhrman.
we'll do
You know what? This is even better than Florida, between 65 to 75 degrees 11 months of the year.
Nice vacation.
And sir, did you say you would have it up and running sometime September?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll
Your daughter still can communicate with me through the Ask the Doctor forum at drfuhrman.com. I can still help her and guide her. But if she really needed care, you could send her into my facility, and we could make sure that she, and make sure we transform and save her life. This is like a person who's a cigarette smoker or a cocaine addict or a heroin addict. And that's right. If it was my daughter, I wouldn't let her out of my sight if she was a heroin addict or a cocaine addict or in other words, this is an opportunity for your daughter to get well and to feel so proud of herself for achieving to transform her life around. She just needs the proper guidance and the proper care, and she could have a full and favorable and exciting, pleasurable life without being addicted on drugs, without being obese and sickly her whole life.
I'd like to have the proper phone number.
I'll get that all to you. I'll get that all to you. Because Dr. Fuhrman is on my show once a month, and we always have different topics. And that's another topic, Dr. Fuhrman, that maybe we can talk about as you open your facility. We can do that again. Okay?
Right.
Okay. Go ahead, Lynn.
It sounded like obesity was like a big problem in our country, and also it sounded like you were saying that cancer is a big problem. We're all aware of that, but I have thyroid problems. Okay, I do not have one anymore. So what can I do, because I've already passed that point? I was radiated.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I want. What's your question?
The thyroid. What can we do to help our thyroids besides just eat this diet? Is that really going to cure the thyroid problem? I'm already past that point. My thyroid is gone.
Right. So you have to take medication for the rest of your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
But medication is adjusted to the dose by blood tests every 3 times a year or so. Or if it's stable, you can go to twice a year.
Yeah.
So it won't be any problem, because the thyroid medications are not cancer-causing and not dangerous medications. You're perfectly fine staying on the thyroid medication for the rest of your life, and it will not shorten your lifespan. So that's not something that I want you to be overly concerned about. You just need to take those drugs for the rest of your life.
Why did I get there?
Why did you get it to begin with?
That's right.
Well, you didn't tell me the medical problem that caused your thyroid to be radiated. So did you have thyroid cancer, or what do you have wrong with you?
I had hyperthyroid. I don't know why it did that.
They took out your thyroid for hypothyroidism?
They radiated it.
Oh, they radiated because she had an autoimmune attack on her thyroid.
Yes.
She had, right. So so they radiated to destroy the thyroid gland. See, I would have used nutrition to prevent the autoimmune disease and to reverse the autoimmune disease. And I've had people with Graves' disease, which is what you had.
Yes.
You had Graves' disease as an autoimmune attack on the thyroid, where the thyroid produces too much thyroid hormone. And I've had many patients reverse their Graves' disease and get well, and they got their whole body in good shape. Now, you've already got your thyroid treated and great, but keep in mind that the Graves' disease and the antibodies produced by Graves' disease were attacking your thyroid, but they're still there. Just because they radiated your thyroid, those hormones could hurt your eyes and hurt other parts of your body. So it still behooves you to follow this program to get in better health, even though it's not going to fix your thyroid at this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is the last question.
Yes, this is Josephine Hunter. I spoke with you last time, Dr. Fuhrman, and I wanted to start off by saying thank you, because you mentioned myofascia last time I was here. I told you about the hyperparathyroidism and all the surgeries. Okay. Hi, I told you about the hyperparathyroidism and the 3 knee surgeries, the knee replacement, everything I've been through. But I have released pain, nerve pain. So thank you for that. But now I'm asking about the, they said a hyperaldosteronism, my adrenal gland. And so they said the effects are high blood pressure, low potassium, that I'll take that the rest of my life. Now I've asked about surgery, like they took the parathyroid out, but they don't want to mess with that. So is there something else natural? Is there a way of attacking that, changing that, fixing that, or getting better from that?
Yes, it could be.
Okay.
The potential to get well is possible. What you have to do is Not right now. If you're prescribed medications to take the place of adrenal hormones, are you on corticosteroids right now?
No, I'm only on blood pressure medication and on potassium every day. If I go 2 or 3 days without potassium, all my bones hurt. I mean, I can't move.
That's a good sign then. Then you're not so sick that you're requiring corticosteroids. So that means your adrenal glands are still functioning to a degree. So I'm very hopeful you can get better. You have to follow this program, become very slim, you know, and then once you get to a relatively healthy body weight, where your body weight is less than 25% fat, when your woman should be less than 25% body fat, then we put you on a fast where you don't eat anything for about 5 days to help reset the adrenal glands and things like that, and help stimulate the adrenal.
Okay.
I'll do that with you. I'll do that with you. I'll do the 5 days of not eating any food with her. So, Dr. Fuhrman, did you hear that? That she's released meat
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. So let's hear it for.
Yeah.
How much weight has she lost in the last 3 weeks?
How much weight have you released?
I know I did 8 pounds in 1 week. I haven't weighed here lately, but I'm on my way. I just the pain from the parathyroid, I was still hurting, and you told me last time that diet alone wouldn't do it. And so I got with Lily, and she was, and I've been on the roller and everything because my body will hurt so bad, but I'm actually feeling relief, so I can start coming off some of the opioids.
Fantastic. You know, I really strongly want you to be a great success story. I think you could transform your health and be totally well again. You know, so let's keep communicating and get you totally well, okay?
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Okay, before I ask this last question, do you want to come up? No. I don't know. Is this your question?
No, it's someone else's.
Oh, okay. So come on, ask the question, Gail. Yeah. And we also have Robin. You have a question? No? Okay.
I had a few questions.
Okay, real quick. Go ahead and show yourself to Dr. Fuhrman.
I don't want to break your thing.
Okay, I'll just leave the phone.
Leave it. You need the microphone.
Say hi. Say hi.
Hi, Dr. Fuhrman.
This is Gail.
Hi, Gail.
Okay.
I had a few questions. I think I might know my first one. My first one was, what diet, if you have leaky gut, is it more like what you answered with the IBS, where the no raw and, because they say the grains, the seeds, and the nuts irritate your stomach lining. So if you have leaky gut, they suggest not to eat that and no raw food.
No, leaky gut has nothing to do with the stomach at all. It has to do with the small intestines. So it doesn't, and those foods don't irritate your stomach anyway.
So what would you suggest?
So remember when I held up the 2 raw foods and the 2 cooked foods, and I discussed how they thicken and make the biofilm adhere to the villi. The villi are the lining of the small intestines, are these finger-like projections called villi.
Right.
That's where the leaky gut takes place. When you thicken, what a leaky gut means, it means you don't have a thickened biofilm. It means there's no protective biofilm preventing foods from leaking through too much.
Oh.
So this program is specifically designed to prevent a leaky gut and remove, and that's because that's how one of the mechanisms way in which it resolves autoimmune disease.
Okay, so not limit your portion size, just go in full on and it'll take care of itself?
Well, every person listening to me right now should not be overeating. We should never eat till we're full or uncomfortable, and we should predominantly eat when we're hungry and not eat if we're not hungry. So your definition of we should not limit our portion sizes, I'm not sure what you mean by that. I certainly don't want anybody to overeat, and I don't want you to overeat. I want you to err on the side of slightly undereating. And I want you really to chew your food exceptionally well, so there's no solid food particles entering your digestive tract. You've liquefied everything in your mouth with your teeth before you swallowed it.
Right. I meant not.
You eat the right foods. If you moderately undereat, mm-hmm. and you chew properly, you're going to get better in a very short period of time.
Okay. The other question was, one of the other questions, we have a connective tissue disorder. So what do you suggest for collagen? Because even Dr. Axes has the meat and fish. Do you have a suggestion for collagen?
I don't know what you mean by a suggestion for collagen. The connective tissue disorder is an autoimmune disease.
Right.
That's your antibodies produced in the bone marrow attacking and destroying collagen. Eating collagen doesn't fix autoimmune diseases and doesn't fix connective tissue disease.
We thought it
Doesn't
might help.
resolve it. As a matter of fact, animal products like that excite the immune system to overreact and make things worse.
Okay.
So
'Cause
you don't eat, you don't, what I'm saying is that eating liver doesn't fix your liver and eating eyeballs doesn't give you better sight. Eating collagen doesn't fix your collagen either.
okay.
So what do you suggest?
I think you know what I suggest.
Just follow it. I've actually been following, as I've been listening, I've lost 65 pounds. I've had cancer twice already. I had ovarian cancer in 2008 and I had breast cancer in 2015, which was compounded with working nights and a lot of stress and many things that contributed to my cancer. Now that I've learned what cancer, only the 5% was my genetic predisposition. But the other thing was we had toxic mold exposure too. So we had all the mycotoxins and the cytokines from that.
It's 95% or more what you eat. All the things you've mentioned so far have very little effect on cancer development. So you've been just sold a bill of goods. Breast cancer is dietary induced, and it's induced mostly by what you ate as a child. Cancer is there 15 years before it's first diagnosed.
Yeah.
And it has a 15 to 25 year lag time before the cells become abnormal. So it's mostly the way we feed our children are the predominant cause of cancer that occurs at 40 or 50 or 60 years old.
Right.
That's why it's so important to switch to a nutritarian diet and not make moderate changes. You have to make an aggressive change to reverse the damage that already occurred. But cancer is not predominantly caused by stress or mold or any of the things you mentioned. But you could put out, but that's fine. I mean,
Okay. I just didn't know the nutritional yeast with the mold, because we had the candida overgrowth. I didn't know the nutritional yeast, if we should, it's supposed to be good for you, but I don't know about the yeast with that.
I'm not sure what you're saying. Nutritional yeast does not fuel the growth of candida or yeast.
Okay,
it's
that's
in a
my
low
answer.
nutrient diet rich in sugar, rich in sweets that feed and white flour that feeds yeast.
Okay.
However, nutritional yeast does increase the risk of cancer because it's usually fortified with folic acid, and folic acid causes cellular replication and promotes breast cancer. So putting nutritional yeast that's fortified on your food could increase risk of cancer, but not by the mechanism you were stating.
They sell it on
They have
Fortified.
pregnant women take extra folic acid.
It's horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Dr. Fuhrman has talked about that.
And then my last question I'm really confused about is the flax. I want to eat the flax, but I heard that increases your estrogen.
No, that's all the things you're saying are not true. Flax actually has anti-estrogenic effects. The lignans block the exposure block the estrogen binding to the receptors in the breast tissue. So flax seeds are one of the most protective foods against breast cancer, and that's been well documented in every single study that's tested it.
That's what we heard, and then we heard the other. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
It's unfortunate that you're getting so much false information and incorrect information from your local alternative practitioners, which is really disturbing.
She obviously didn't hear it from the Lil McDermott radio show.
Thank you.
Okay, one last question, Dr. Fuhrman, if we can make this one real quick. I don't know if you can, but a question is, what do you do with a family that likes a lot of alcohol?
You avoid them, and you don't drive in their cars. You don't let your children get rides from them.
Anything else you'd like to add? Oh,
Well, what do we do when a person is addicted to cigarette smoke or addicted to junk food, donuts? What do we do with people? Well, we demonstrate, we put the oxygen mask on ourselves first. We demonstrate what we've learned, and we put our own body in excellent health. We try to show them compassion and love, and to be in as kind way as possible, show you care about them, that if there's anything you can do to help them. It's because some people who are smoking cigarettes want somebody to watch them so they don't smoke, and want somebody to help keep an eye on them and help be the tough guy and the cop to so some of these people may want help and may want your help, but you have to try to inquire and see if this person needs this, would be willing to take your assistance. But first, you got to worry about yourself and getting good health yourself first.
Great answer. That's a good one. Okay, Dr. Fuhrman, thank you so much for everything that you do.
Good luck. You have some really wonderful people there who have an opportunity to really transform their health, and I'm excited about these transformations that are going to occur.
Dr. Fuhrman, I want to ask you something real quick, because last time you gave us a really nice peep show. Are you going to show us your abs and your muscles?
No.
Come on, do we want to see his abs and his muscles?
That's good. That's good.
So, if you think that not eating meat is going to cause you to get weak and frail, look at this guy. He's a picture of health excellence. So thank you.
I almost ripped the shirt. I almost ripped my shirt. I made a muscle so big.
Do it. Come on, let's see it. Come on.
No, I did have my shirt almost ripped. So that's right. 65 years old should still be ripped and have six packs.
Yeah.
65.
65.
Right, here. See,
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Dr. Fuhrman. It's always nice.
Okay.
And, you know, the what? Yeah. It's always nice to see you be so human with us and share a little bit about your life. It's always uplifting and empowering to us to know that we can make a choice to live the healthy life that we want. So thank you so much, Dr. Fuhrman.
you're welcome. All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Okay, Robert, I don't know how to. Well, we need to turn off the recorder. Okay, guys.
Awesome.
All right.
Say thank you, Nicole. Nicole just left. Okay. So real quick, before we go, we've got like 2-3 minutes. Next time we get together, we're talking about the 27th of June, which is that last Wednesday of the month. Is that a good day?